Hi guys, this is Quinn with PTSD While Black. So the PTSD is real, y'all. I'm doing EMDR therapy, and today's the first day after I think almost a month of not doing any processing that we finally did processing. And guess what we jumped in on? Like the most difficult fucking thing out of all my traumas. Rape. Yay! Let's talk about rape. Um so it was I was grateful and willing to go through um processing the feelings around the trauma, because like I think I shared in a video earlier, um, um like I think last Saturday I was having dreams about the after effects of dealing with the rape. When and in processing today was dealing with like all the things that society says about a woman who is a survivor of trauma, that it's our fault, um, that we're responsible for what had happened, whether or not we fought back, or if we um, um, had any part of like bringing this situation onto ourselves or what have you. In American culture, at least, we certainly blame the victim, and especially for me, growing up in the South, in the South and African American culture, it's much worse because women have to be strong on top of this. We don't have any feelings. We're supposed to be stoic, and that nothing is supposed to affect us. But shit does affect us, okay? Shit is real. Um, and like doing the session today, I realized like a lot of the stuff that came up and that I was addressing was dealing with a lot of the story that I had told myself about what I'd underwent. And it was really interesting because I saw it as my fault, and I realized like I tried to rationalize the situation, um, to tell myself that this was the result that I had wanted. I blamed myself for being in that situation. I blamed myself for going on a date with someone who had their passenger door handle just didn't work. I blame myself for getting in the car with someone and going on a trip to the mall, and then I've hung out with people 1,000 times at their houses before, but they didn't rate me. So why would I expect it this time? um, I blame myself for being with someone who was physically stronger than me. That was the other thing that came up in the session, was the thing that I admired about this guy. Like I thought it was really cool that he knew martial arts. I'm like, yeah, I always loved martial arts. I totally couldn't do shit, but it was like one of the things that I admired or thought was cool about this guy was one of the things that was the most terrifying in that situation, because he was stronger than me. He had been practicing martial arts, and I was subdued in that situation. And it was interesting just processing all of this and having it come up. I felt myself like very detached in the session, like detached from what had happened, or finding myself slowly detaching from what had happened and being able to view, ow, my shoulder, being able to view the situation objectively, um, and viewing what had happened. And I got asked several times by my therapist again and again to look at, if I had a girlfriend who had gone through these things, how would I have advised her? Would I have told her this is her fault? And the fucked up thing is that, yeah, at that time I would have told her this is her fault. Knowing what the fuck I know now, I wouldn't. But if, just like when we're in the session and I'm in that moment, I'm like, yeah, I would have told her this is her fault. That's what I fucking told myself. But what it was interesting, I know I'm all over the place with this. I just need to get it out. What was interesting was, with this session, was acknowledging that regardless if it was her fault, regardless if she accepted 1,001 pieces of responsibility for what happened, it still would have happened. considering like all the pieces that are lined up, um, it still would have happened, or it could have been a lot worse, even trying to fight this person back who is physically way stronger than you. Would have been a difficult situation. Could have been killed, could have been bruised and beaten up, and was bruised. I was choked, but still, like having your face damaged, or yeah, your car destroyed, or like the situation could have been escalated and made a whole lot worse. Um, and being able to go home and look your family and friends in the eyes, like, you got a black eye, what the fuck happened? What kind of story would you have told then? So it was really interesting, I guess seeing the event objectively. My head hurts, and I've been crying, and I realized that I probably need to make a video about this, just for me to let go, for me to detach, and for me to process this some more. I know that there's going to be more in processing, but I'm just really surprised at how things like shifted, and I was able to view it from a separating point. And something else that was interesting that I thought, because as I was going through the process, it was like after the event, I went to a friend's house, and like they had like two other roommates, and we just hung out and played. I think they were playing D&D at the time, that I just stopped in and watched them play D&D. And I took a shower while I was at their house, and it was like as if nothing had happened. Um, and I think that was the hardest part, was being as if nothing had happened. And I think that was where I compounded the trauma, by not being able to tell somebody that this is what had happened to me. This is what I just went through, and I'm pretending like I'm okay. Um, but the way my therapist kind of reshifted it is that you went to a place where you felt safe, and you did what you had to do for you to feel safe, versus going home to my roommates and having them ask, where were you, what happened, blah blah blah, and having to lie um in that space. And I'm recognizing, like, through the process of what happened, I lied through omission. I just didn't say what had happened to me. And I think it would have been much more difficult with, if there were people who loved me like parents, had known what I had gone through. I think it would have been a lot more difficult to face. I don't know. I don't know if it would have been um, different, or would have had a different impact. But I just saw that as really interesting, the way my therapist, reframed it, with my choice to go to my friend's house, which was in between where I was driving from and to where I lived, in Southern California. That was a form of self-care. That was a form of finding safety when I didn't know what the fuck to do with the situation. So it was a really interesting EMDR process, and I think I'm going to try to allow myself to vlog this week, just to get my feelings out, allow myself to be exactly as I am. So if I'm crying, if I'm screaming, if I'm cussing, if I'm cracking jokes, if I'm singing off key this week, I'm just going to allow myself to be just as I am, because in the face of this event, I didn't allow myself to be as I was, because I didn't feel safe to be who I was. So just for today, I will allow this to be part of my healing process. Yeah. So if you ever have if you ever undergo EMDR, or have had EMDR, one of the big things is, like, afterwards, is that the brain, I think it's the frontal lobe, continues processing long after the session. And with the processing still going on, I might have some weird fucking dreams, may or may not have triggers. I don't know how it's going to come up, but I'm going to try to just vlog this experience as it is. with this release. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Till next time. Peace.